Hello good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's Tuesday night, and if you're coming for another Our Kind of People review, then you're in the right place. But before I get into the review, I just want to say a few things. Over the past 2 months, my channel has grown more than it has over the last 10 months. And I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to my channel, and I also want to give a special shout out to V Free and Miss Bell for consistently commenting on my videos. I truly appreciate all of you out there. So what can I say about Our Kind of People that I haven't said a million times already? Well, the writing is all over the place. Last week, we had Teddy, who just cheated death and allegedly has Parkinson's disease, dancing like Gregory Hines at his birthday party, which was less than a week from major heart surgery. And with the season nearly over, we find out that Quincy, the forgotten DuPont, now wants to be the next LeBron James instead of following in the family's footsteps. So did episode 9 reel in the sloppy writing, or do I still believe that the show is getting in its own way? Stay tuned to find out. The episode starts off with Auntie returning back home from her vacation, and she's greeted by Angie and Nikki. Auntie is explaining her absence, and in the middle of their conversation, Nate comes out of the bedroom shirtless, and he's looking like the cat that swallowed the canary. Nate explains his plans for the future before leaving the scene. Angie assures Auntie that nothing is going on between them, and Angie also mentions that Tyreke has not been the same since Auntie has left. This causes Auntie to have a breakdown. We then get a steamy shower scene between Raymond and Leah, but instead of having sex or even washing their hind parts, they engage in a thought-provoking conversation about how they can team up against Teddy. We then get a scene of Quincy kissing Sloane before they're interrupted by the head maid, who we learn is Sloane's grandmother. I must say that Sloane is way too fine to be working at that house, but something tells me that Sloane is more than just the grandchild of the head maid. Quincy invites her to a party later on, and she happily accepts. We then get a scene of Angie meeting up with Tyreke. Tyreke is still angry with Angie over the belief that she is cheating on him with Nate, but Angie tries to explain herself to no avail. Tyreke continues to go on his morning job, and Angie stares off into the unknown. This is Tyreke's only scene in the entire episode. Leah and Olivia have a meeting with prospective women looking to join their sisterhood. Olivia and Angie bump heads because Olivia is essentially telling Angie in front of everyone that she doesn't have what it takes to join their organization. Angie takes the bait and tries to stand up for herself in front of everyone, but Olivia uses the opportunity to make an example out of Angie. Leah escorts Angie to the side, and she warns Angie about speaking so freely to Olivia. Angie tells Leah that she doesn't need the organization, and Leah tells her that she actually does. Leah escorts Angie to meet with Teddy, and they both let her know that the incubator program was shut down, along with her distribution deal. Teddy blames all of this on Alex exposing his Parkinson's diagnosis, but Leah encourages Angie to do whatever it takes to become part of the sisterhood because their investors can support black businesses. Angie returns home and she encounters Nate cooking chili. She tells Nate about the incubator program being canceled, and Nate gives Angie some words of encouragement. Now I can definitely tell that there's some chemistry going on between the two of them, which is adding fuel to the fire. Olivia meets up with Raymond to discuss Jack selling his shares of Raymond's company to Teddy. Raymond has some sort of plan to get his company back, and Olivia is proven to be a worthy adversary on the show. We then get a scene of Nikki, Lauren, and Taylor on a beach, and they seem to be getting along, which in my opinion is pretty awkward considering that Lauren tried to kill Taylor before Taylor cheated on Lauren with Lauren's cousin Nikki. This storyline has the makings of an episode of Jerry Springer. But Lauren pulls Taylor aside to talk about the possibility of her mother cheating with Uncle Jack. Taylor cautions Lauren about saying something to her parents about it, but knowing Lauren, her superpower is messing things up. Nikki sees the two of them getting close and she gets worried. But I really don't understand why. Nikki knew that Lauren was with Taylor, but she stole Taylor away anyway. And now Nikki is worried that the same will happen to her? Taylor is indeed for the streets. Angie meets up with Leah to discuss how to get into the sisterhood, and Leah is given some very good pointers. Angie then meets with Nikki to study the sisterhood organization history in order to impress the head honchos. During their conversation, Nikki brings up the idea of attending the same boarding school as Lauren and Taylor. Angie essentially tells Nikki her going to boarding school is contingent upon Angie getting into the sisterhood and getting an investor on her side. Olivia meets with Leah and confronts her about what Teddy did to Raymond's company. Leah pivots the conversation when she confronts Olivia about the decision to allow Angie's mother into the sisterhood. Leah discovers part of the reason why Olivia hates Angie. Teddy and Raymond have a brief scene together, and they briefly talk about Teddy buying Jack's shares of Raymond's company. Now I gotta pause and point out the elephant in the room. This episode, in my opinion, is all over the place with the characters getting brief scenes together, only to discuss important plot points before moving on to something else. We then go back to Angie, where she's back at home and she finds 2 vials of crack where Nate is sleeping. She confronts Nate about it and he's pretty speechless. Unbeknownst to Raymond, Olivia meets up with Jack and she brings liquor with her and gets him pretty liquored up. Olivia tries to reason with Jack in telling him that he shouldn't sell his company shares to Teddy. When that didn't work, she tried to walk out, but when Jack tried to stop her, she accidentally pushed him into a glass table and Jack fell to his doom. Olivia showed absolutely no remorse when seeing Jack's dead body. Quincy arrives at a party with Sloane. He introduces her to a friend as the house manager's grandchild, and she takes offense to it. Taylor and Nikki are cuddled up at the beach party, and Nikki is talking to Taylor about possibly going to the boarding school. Before they can get far into it, Lauren interrupts them and asks Taylor to come with her. Taylor agrees. Taylor and Lauren arrive at Uncle Jack's place and find Jack dead. So we're finally at the sisterhood event, and Angie is working a potential investor, but Olivia puts a stop to it and embarrasses Angie while ushering the investor away. Before Leah could save Angie, Raymond tells her to come with him. Leah and Raymond meet up with Lauren, who tells them that Uncle Jack has died. They ask her why she was there, and Lauren essentially snitches on Leah. It's safe to say that Lauren's superpowers were in full swing in this episode. We then see Angie coming back home and talking to Auntie about the drugs that she found in Nate's room. Auntie confesses that the drugs are actually hers, as well as how she was addicted to crack back in the day. And this is when we get the big reveal. Auntie shares that she fell in love with her drug dealer back in the day, but they were in a toxic relationship. She killed her drug dealer boyfriend, she asked Teddy for help, and Teddy had Tyreke's father get rid of the body. Leah confronts Olivia and gives her a warning about her behavior towards Angie. Olivia warns Leah not to mess with her in no uncertain terms. Angie meets up with Nate and apologizes to him for accusing him of doing drugs. During their conversation, the investor from earlier gives Angie a call. The investor loved Angie's pitch, and Nate gives Angie a nice DNA swap and kiss. But Angie comes to her senses and she leaves, possibly because she's still in love with Tyreke. Taylor meets up with Lauren and they talk about Uncle Jack. They kiss one another and the situation is extremely messy. Raymond sits down with Olivia and they talk about Jack. When Raymond tells Olivia that Jack died, Olivia pulls off a masterful acting performance and she pretends to be in shock. But Raymond cleverly exposes Olivia's plan to kill Jack in order to take over Raymond's company for herself. And Raymond tells Olivia in no uncertain terms to fall back and let him run the company or he will expose her. So the remaining episodes of Our Kind of People will return sometime in January. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this episode a 5. The episode showed much promise with the big reveals and twists, but for me, the story was simply all over the place and it became hard to follow after a while. It was almost as if they tried to do too much in a short amount of time, which left many questions about characters and their endgame unanswered. And even though the show is going to take a break, I'll still use Tuesday nights to post new content. But this marks the end of my review. If you have any questions or comments about the review or the episode, then feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.